Welcome to another episode of the Traditional Dad Podcast. I'm Nathan Ross, your host.
I'm Melissa Ross.
And this is a podcast helping dads to not be defined by the mistakes, but to build strength and courage to confront them. Now, we're going to talk about the top 5 pressures dad faces, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure. Can we talk about what moms do, don't we, all the time?
Yeah.
And I feel society caters for moms a lot, which is a controversial statement, but I feel like I've been through the court system with one of my children, and it caters for women. Let's be real.
Yeah, I think mums are at the forefront of when it comes to necessity for children. I think it's always deemed that the mum is sort of more important, or that the child should, ideally be placed with the mother over the father for whatever reason. And
if you're a dad that's been through the court system, you will know the pain, the mental tiredness, the heartache, because I know that I went through it, and you spend a lot of money, you waste a lot of time on solicitors. The second time I did it with my same child, I just went to court by myself, and it's a massive, massive burden that men go through. Obviously, it shouldn't happen, but that's a different topic, that's a different story. However, there is a lot of pressure on dads more than ever in today's society. Do you feel?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is the way I describe it is dads almost have to prove themselves more than mums. I feel like
not that with their dad, but with DNA.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
But also that we're a capable dad, even though.
It's not just a given that you're a capable father, or that you should have access to your child, or that you should be able to be given the same rights as the mother. It's almost like the mum just sort of gets that
without no judgment.
Yeah,
let's be real,
and the dad has to literally jump through hoops,
and we have to
prove themselves.
Yeah, and even though, like, I remember the whole thing, it was about parental responsibility, wasn't it, and all that, and if you were married and all that sort of thing, and once you've got parental responsibility, and then it was CAFCAS, and then it was court systems, and it was getting drug tested and all these sort of things the hoops that you go through as a dad, just to then say, okay, you can see your child every other weekend. Yeah. And you're like, what? Like, the system's broke, I believe. And that's a different,
we'll delve into that.
We can delve that into a lot more. But I want to talk about the 5 pressures that every dad faces. And I really feel this is going to be a topic because we've done 2 podcasts already with 2 different dads on the Traditional Dad Podcast. And they've both got similar stories, different backgrounds, but I really feel what we're going to talk about, most dads, 99% of dads feel these pressures, don't they?
Yeah.
And they're not in any order or anything like that. We've just put
and these are from sort of generalities from questions that you've asked dads.
Yeah.
The general consensus is that these 5 things are the main top 5 pressures that you've found.
Totally. Okay, so pressure number 1 is the provider pressure. Now, we've got our notes because we thought we'd be really professional, didn't we? But it's also a good thing that we stick to the topic, not go tangentially off somewhere else.
We're good at that.
We're very good at that. So, number 1, the pressure that a dad feels is the provider pressure, okay? Society wants us to... What would you say? What's the provider pressure? It's more so of the thing
You're bringing home the bacon.
We bring home the bacon. We go out to work, as well as we do the dad duties at home, as well as what else have we got pressure-wise from providing?
Mental health, keeping yourself sane, keeping yourself fit and healthy.
Yep.
Keeping your wife or your partner happy.
And when shit goes down, we've still got to say, and it's a famous meme, there is, like, when anything goes wrong, us dads say, we've got it.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll sort it.
I think there's an unwritten thing that, when distress occurs, the man jumps in, which I'm not saying that's the wrong thing. As we're quite traditional, I would expect that of you. However, it still is a background pressure of the safety of my family is my responsibility.
I do believe that pressure that we have as being a provider, as dads, we put on ourselves as well.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of external pressure, but also I think there's a lot of internal pressure as dads we put on ourselves that we want to be the provider. And if we're not providing financially, physically, mentally, emotionally,
I do think it depends on the circumstance though. Like if you're a single dad versus if you're a dad in a relationship. The biggest thing that I would say in terms of if you're a dad who's in a relationship is communication with your partner. If you're feeling overwhelmed with pressure, be it financial or you're struggling
if you've got a good relationship with your partner.
Yeah, but I think to build a good relationship, communication is the foundation. If you're not sharing your struggle with your partner...
Which is easily said, though, isn't it?
It is.
Because let's be real, most relationships, when they break down and there's kids involved, it's a bitter journey. So if you can, definitely...
open those lines of communication if you are struggling. But if you're a single dad, or you're a dad sort of doing it on your own, I totally get that. You feel like everything's on your shoulders.
And I honestly think, coming from a dad's point of view, that we don't tell people enough about what that provider pressure is. No. Because I don't think we talk about it enough. I don't think we share it enough. Women talk in terms of, I would say, generally... Really? Women talk? My God.
More so than men.
I didn't know that.
Well, we offload, I would say, again, general statement, but we offload to our friends. We might offload to our moms, or, our close-knit sort of, people around us. But I don't know if dads know how to offload. I think they internalise a lot.
We want to offload. I don't think it's that we don't know how to. I think that we don't want to.
Yeah.
Because when times are going hard, it's seen as weak.
Sign of weakness.
And I haven't got my shit together, you know what I mean? When things are going great, dads are great at sharing how good things are going. Mm-hmm. When it comes down to when things are not going great, let's just say I know the bailiffs. I remember when I was 21 and I missed my council tax bill. And at the time I was with my older daughter's mother. And I didn't want to tell her that the bailiffs were coming round.
Were you ashamed?
Yeah, I was ashamed. I felt I'd let her down. I felt like I'd let the family down. I felt weak and So then I had to go and ask her dad for a bit of insight on how to sort it out and all that sort of thing. And I remember feeling the pressure of it, sort of thing of I've not paid this, or I think I missed it. I can't remember. I think I just ignored it.
Well, you were a young dad, weren't you?
20, I didn't really care. I didn't know what a bill was.
No one's got their shit together at 21, let's
And then we got a bailiff knocking on the door, you know what I mean, from Equinox at the time, oh shit. So I think it's that we don't want to talk about it because it seems like if we haven't got our shit together.
So how can dads relieve that pressure, do you think?
Because we want to provide.
Yeah.
So it's innate in us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's part of who we are as dads.
Yeah.
So we want to
You're
provide.
the hunter-gatherer.
We're the hunter-gatherer, we're the protector, we want to provide. Every man would love, if they could, have their wife not working, by staying at home, which you don't do much of. And we would all love that to do, wouldn't we?
I don't know if every man would love their wife to be at home. Perhaps some men enjoy their wife or their partner going out and having a career. But I think it's just got to be that you're both on the same page about what you both want out of the relationship.
And I think it comes back to, again, communication. This is my role. This is what the pressure I've got of providing. Yeah. What can you do to help or support and stuff like that?
Because you might not be in a situation where you want to be the sole bearer of the finances of the household. You might want to share that with your partner. Totally. And if you don't communicate that, then resentment builds.
Yep, totally.
Obviously, that's totally different if you're a single dad, because unfortunately the onus is all on you. But
we talk a lot about single moms, don't we?
Yeah.
Like Father's Day is single mom day. Mother's Day is single mom day. You know what I mean? We talk a lot about single moms and
Father's Day we bring up mums, which I don't agree with.
Yeah, that's another topic again. Yeah. Why the fuck are we talking about Mother's Day and Father's Day?
Yeah.
Because
dads deserve their day.
We never talk about single dads, do we? We always talk about single moms and how hard they've got it.
Yeah.
You go on social media.
Because I think the assumption is that it's normally that the mum, the children are normally most of the time placed with mum, but that's not always the case.
I've come across loads of dads this year that their mums have walked out on them, and they've had to look after the kids and rise up. And on my tired dad's Instagram page, there's so many dads that have reached out to me going like, single dad of 4, single dad of 3, single dad of 2, mum left me and blah, blah, blah. And they don't get enough of recognition.
No.
Because I'm going to be honest with you, dads. If you're a single dad and you're bringing up your kids and you're implementing values and standards and you've got your shit together, hats off to you. Yeah, totally, hats off to you. Because it's not easy. It's not an easy
well, you kind of had an experience of it last year when we were separated. Yeah. I had an experience of being a single mum, and neither of us were enjoying the journey, were we? No.
And so I just think, so hats off to you. So number 1, provider pressure. Number 2, time juggling.
Yeah.
Now, I felt this much when we were running our gyms.
Yes. You hated the word balance at that time, do you remember?
Oh.
You say, I hate the word balance, it's all in the
thing. And now it's all about balance. But
life is a balancing act.
Life is a balancing act. Time juggling act. Yeah. So I remember when we had our free gyms and we were running very successful gyms.
We never saw you.
You never saw me.
Yep.
I was working 120 hours a week shifts.
Yep.
I missed the first 4 years of Emmy growing up. You were a single mom basically bringing her up.
Yep.
I'd have a few hours on a Sunday afternoon to experience dad life and family life.
Which again was exhausting for you. We don't really talk about that because I think you felt you needed to go all in on that one day that we had off.
Oh yeah, so we went out everywhere.
So you never rested either. No. So like you'd have one day off a week if you could get cover, but on that one day you felt like you needed to be everything to everyone. You needed to spend time with me, you needed to catch up with your daughter, you needed to somehow find time for self-care, shave, have a bath or, you know.
And I remember like, I've spoken to my clients about it. There was at one point in January, pre-2020, when the whole world shut down. It was that January when I was burnt out. I remember sitting in the soft play with you and I was like, I can't do this anymore, man.
Yeah, you weren't. You were sort of in a bit of a daze, weren't you? You weren't present at all.
No.
And that's the one thing I will say now compared to before is how present you are now.
And so I think we have, again, coming back to providing pressure, we have the thing of wanting to work to bring the money in, wanting to juggle work life. If you're married, spending time with the wife. If you've got many kids, spending time with many kids. Then you're trying to fit in time for yourself. And everyone talks to dads about, yes, you've got to fill up your own cup and all that sort of thing. But I must say, as dads, we're poor at time managing. Yeah. We are poor at time managing.
And I suppose it's that guilt, isn't it? You always feel guilty that you're not doing enough. So if you're working too much on yourself, if you're in the gym all the time working on yourself, that means that your kids are missing out or your wife's missing out.
And if you're working on the business, family life's missing out. And
it's not knowing what to prioritise.
And I think early stages of a business, yes, you've got to put a lot of time, sacrifice and all that sort of thing. But I will tell you now, dads, there has to come a point, luckily for me, the pandemic happened, but there has to come a point where you say to yourself, what path I'm going to take? Because you're either going to miss out on your family, or you're going to lose your family, or you're going to go all in and your business has to take a bit of a backseat. And so you have to have a juggling act.
What I will say is you are very replaceable in the workplace, especially if you work for someone else. Not so much if you're an entrepreneur and you work for yourself, but if you are an employee for someone else, the situation is that someone can always step into that role. You may be integral to that business and you may do a wonderful job, but you will never be replaced at home.
No. I think for dads, you need to realise this as well, and this is just my own opinion, that it doesn't have to feel like a juggling act. I think
it can feel like a nice balance.
Yeah, I think you can get so caught up.
It's the way we view it.
Yeah, it's the way we view it. It's the way we manage our time. Like if you say you can't fit in the gym, go early in the morning. Like I always get my clients, if they can, to go like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Sometimes you just feel like you've just got one too many spinning plates all at once.
Yeah. And I think it doesn't need to be like that. I think if you are become good at time managing, become good at delegating. And also know your roles in your relationship. Like you're not the person that would take Emmy out to the woods and do this and that and the other. Like you're not the person that would go, okay, let's get on the bike and blah blah blah. Whereas I would. Yeah. So we have different time.
Little pockets of time when you can do that. Perhaps when I'm still at work and you've picked her up from school and
or even when you're just home and like, look, I've got to do the washing or whatever, blah blah blah. So I'll go and take her out for a bit and stuff like that. So it's about knowing your roles and good time managing.
But how does a single dad manage his time?
Well, if you've got your kid all the time, your time is literally when they go to bed, isn't it? And you might say,
or when they're at school,
and so you're looking at, if you're wanting to get fitter, then you're looking to do like home workouts when they're in bed, aren't you, and stuff like that.
I think more so than ever, though, if you are a single parent, you've got to prioritise that time for you, even if it is half an hour a day, an hour a day, 10 minutes a day, because
de-stress.
Yes, it all is all on you, and if you crumble, everything else around you is going to crumble.
And I imagine for some single dads, you've got to look at getting a good support network.
Yeah, so be that a good co-parenting relationship with your child's mum or extended family, friends, and don't be afraid to reach out and ask for that help, because people, and we found this last year, people do want to help you. You've just got to be willing to ask and put yourself out there.
And totally, you just got to be willing to ask. But I do think we are, as dads, we're probably quite poor at time managing, time scheduling.
So if need be, like you do, have a calendar, have a weekly schedule, plan your days
Google Calendar, men. Google Calendar and scheduling your workouts, scheduling your date nights, scheduling time with your kids, scheduling kids zone, scheduling work, just scheduling everything. And if you look at my calendar, it's literally down to a T. So yeah, get yourself that. Number
failure
3.
to prepare, is it?
Failure to prepare to fail. Failure to prepare to fail. Prepare to fail. Okay, number 3. So far we've got the pressure of providing, we've got the pressure of time managing and time juggling, and then number 3 we've got the pressure of setting an example. Now I'm going to jump in with this. Number 1. Most dads are trying to do the opposite of what they were brought up on.
Right.
Okay, and what I mean by that is most dads, especially from the dads that I've spoken to a podcast, especially that I've spoken to through my Tired Dad page, most dads are trying to do the opposite of how their dad brought them up.
Right.
So
because they think that it wasn't the right way, or
they think
it wasn't good enough.
Way. It probably wasn't good enough, or the relationship, there was no relationship because let's think about traditional dads back in the day. They were very emotionless. My dad was very emotionless, stoic. If you look at my dad, like his saying was, "If you don't listen, you'll feel," and all that sort of thing. So you're trying to break generation traditions, aren't you?
Yeah.
And become the generational break, aren't you?
Yeah.
And so you're trying to set your own example and put your own blueprint. And I talk about blueprint a lot because I feel like as parents, we're trying to put our own blueprint on our children. And so you are literally setting the example to how your kids will view men, how your kids will act as a man. And so it's really important that you don't fuck this up, isn't it?
And also how they will view women.
Yep, how they will view
say,
women.
How you treat your daughter is how your daughter's going to be treated one day.
Yeah, and how you treat your daughter's mother. Because she's watching, isn't she? She's watching.
She's looking to your
so
relationship.
when I give you the black eyes, she knows that's not joking.
Sure.
I'm joking. More like I get the black eye. No, but how you treat your daughter's mother is how she will be expected to be treated, isn't
Absolutely.
it? And so you've really got to start looking at...
Your kids will mirror everything.
Yeah, you're showing them.
Yeah.
And you're blueprinting them, setting them up ready for
how relationships
future
are going to
judgments on relationships.
So if you're constantly in conflict with perhaps your child's parent, or even if you're together and you're constantly in conflict, your children are in the middle of that. Children live what they learn, don't they?
And also, you got to think about you're teaching them about resilience, aren't you? You're teaching them about discipline. If you're a disciplined person, let's just look at it. How you do anything is how you do everything, okay? And so your kids are going to learn from you as a dad about life in general and how to approach life. And if you're giving up all the time, you're failing all the time, you're not sticking to your word all the time, your kid's going to see that and sense that and think that's normal.
Having a can-do attitude is always what we'll strive for. No one's perfect, obviously.
No. But you're striving to teach your kids about good work ethic. You're trying to teach your kids about good, healthy habits. You're trying to teach your kids about learning about discipline and commitment and loyalty and
and they're watching when even you think that they're not.
They're sponges, aren't they? And they're watching when you think they're not. So, and the question I'm always asking myself, and I always talk to my dads and their clients, and when I'm talking to my clients, I always say to them, like, how can you be better so your family's better? And so you've got to ask yourself the question, what can you do better as a dad to set the example of what a man should be like for your daughter, or how your son should be acting in the future? Because it's a biggie.
And you ask yourself the question, if my children were acting in the future how I'm acting now, would I be proud of that?
Yeah, totally.
And I had that conversation with you at some points during our separation. Would you be proud of, Emmy being in a relationship that's similar to ours right now?
Totally. And I think something that I was interested in, I put on my Facebook page today, was that I think we're now seeing in generation now in society the backlash of weak dads and absent parents.
Yeah. And not just absent dads, absent mothers
parents,
as well.
Absent mothers. I think we're really seeing the impact of that now with gangs, with youth trying to be part of something, belong to something. Children's mental health. I think we're really starting to see that. And so it's more imperative than ever now as dads, we're setting the example of what a father is, what a husband is, and doing it. as a blueprint so our kids can learn from it, aren't we?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally.
Okay, number 4, maintaining relationships. Interesting.
Maintaining, interesting word.
Maintaining. Why maintaining?
Yeah. Because you choose what relationships you get into, you choose what relationships you have. You may feel, you know, like your child's partner, your child's mother or father potentially wasn't the ideal situation because you may not be with them anymore.
Yep.
But you do have a duty of care really to your child to maintain some kind of positive relationship with them if and where possible. And I say that because it's not always possible.
It's not always possible, no.
It's not always realistic. We get that. Yeah. Life isn't perfect.
No. I think also I look at it from a business sense of view, and again, looking at the environment factor of it all. There's that whole saying, like, you hang around 5 millionaires, you become a 6. Mm-hmm. And so having a positive relationship, husband and wife, or having a positive relationship with ex-mother or whatever, whoever it is, you're setting an energy, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Positive vibes. You're setting a standard of vibrations or energy or positivity or...
And just because you don't, you know, just because you're not together doesn't mean that can't be a positive relationship for your children to see. Being amicable, being respectful.
And guys, I'll be honest with you, like, if I'm going to do a separate podcast about my older daughter and her mother, but it's not easy.
No.
Is it? And
especially if there's a lot of pain or trauma or conflict that, you know,
we're not perfect as dads, okay? We fuck up. Okay, we fuck up good. And that's one of the things I've admitted many times before, and we'll do a separate podcast about it, but it's understanding that. And as I said at the beginning, it's learning about your mistakes, but not allowing your mistakes to define you.
Yeah.
And so moving on and building strength and courage to confront them and change and become a different dad. But
you aren't your mistakes.
No, you're not your
mistakes. And every day is an opportunity for a new beginning.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't be plagued by, you know, if you've had a terrible situation with your child's mother or, you know, your ex-partner or whatever it is, or even if you're still together and you're struggling through, you know, your relationship, it's never too late to have a new conversation, have a new outlook.
And turn it into a positive.
Decide a new direction for where your relationship is going to go.
Totally.
Because that can only ever be beneficial for your kids.
And if you think about, like, for instance, you had a great upbringing as a kid, didn't you? Your bond with family, you did everything together.
Yeah.
You went and travelled the world and blah, 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 but you had cousins around and all that sort of thing. So they're good memories, aren't they?
Yeah.
For you. Whereas I was totally different.
You had quite an insular family, didn't you?
Yeah, so it was just us and that was it.
Yeah.
And like for Emily now, we're like trying to get her...
It's finding that balance, isn't it?
It's finding that balance, isn't it? It's finding that balance. So maintaining relationships, it can be hard. But you got to think about the energy that you bring as a dad to the family. Like, and I'll give you a perfect example. After work, when you come back from work, what's the attitude like when you walk through that door into the house? Okay, think about that. When you come back from work or when you've been back from your own business and you walk through that door, you've got loads of little kids or you've got a little one, energy's high, they're probably excited to see you. How do you walk through that door? Do you go, oh, here we go, blah, blah, blah? Or are you walking in with a good vibration, good energy, like happy to see everyone? Are you happy to see your wife? And if you've had a bad day, sometimes sitting in that car, which we've all done, dads, for half an hour, 5, 10, 15 minutes, sitting in that car with the engine running, just thinking...
Brace yourself.
I'm going into the house, but also, I've had a really shit day, but my kids deserve better.
Yeah.
And we've all done it, dads. We've all sat in the car for half an hour and just reminisced over the day. So think about the impact you're having on your environment.
And I think you can always... I think it's easy sometimes to lose sight of what the end goal is. Having that thought process of what do I want to get out of this situation and how can I contribute to getting that end result. So if I want to walk in and my kids are happy and my wife's happy and there's a positive environment, what do I have to do to contribute to that? Because if I walk in with a face like thunder because of my shitty day at work and...
Because Irene didn't make your cup of tea right. Or something like that. I don't know. Or someone cut you up in the road and stuff like that. Because guys, again, let's be real, as men we can get wound up quite quickly, especially today, because of the pressure of providing and all that. So
I think taking accountability for your input in the
we call it extreme ownership, don't we? Call it
of the
ownership.
maintenance of the relationship, and it isn't always everybody else. Sometimes you have to look inward and think, what am I doing to contribute to this relationship positively? Am I adding to it? Am I bringing the sunshine to the relationship, or am I just bringing difficulty?
Inside my program, my clients, we do a thing called extreme ownership, and if you can just say to yourself, it's all my fault, what can I do to change? Whether it's not, or whether it is, it doesn't really matter. Just take an extreme ownership and go, right, it's my fault, what can I do to change it? You'll have a different mentality of things that way. So, okay, last but not least, personal health and longevity. A lot of dads need to fix up on this, don't they?
I think it's taken a backseat because of all the other pressures, and I think it's probably good that we chose to speak about this last, because I think it is last in the list of...
I think priority-wise, your health and fitness and looking after yourself is a backseat.
But it shouldn't be.
And I think unless you have a serious wake-up call, most dads don't do anything about it, do they?
No. And I think it's, 40 and over.
Yeah.
Those ailments start to creep in, don't they?
Yeah,
and
heart disease creeps in.
Things that you got away with in your 20s, maybe your 30s, start to catch up on you.
True. And I always say it's about being on this earth to live longer now, dads, for our kids' sake. And I think we know it deep down as dads. We know that we need to look after our health. We know we need to do better habits. We need to cut down on the alcohol. We need to stop snacking. We need to cut back on the processed food. We need to get lifting weights and going for walks and all the basic things that we can do.
And that can feel overwhelming, because even just then, all of those things, if I was a dad that was doing all those things, or a single
dad or whatever,
I'd be thinking that's far too much to have to think about doing. So okay, I'm not going to do any of it.
Yeah.
But exactly. Small, little, incremental changes that 1%. You do consistently every single day really do contribute to bettering your health.
I would tell you the one biggest change that I made, and whether you can relate to or not, sleep.
Oh my God, yeah.
I had a chat with one of my clients today, and we were talking. He said he remembers when I was saying, like, I've only had 3 hours sleep. I was getting up at 3:30 in the morning.
And it was always like a badge of honour.
Yeah.
You're beating yourself.
Yeah. Yes, I'm so glad I'm having lack of sleep.
With the least amount of sleep.
I've won.
Yes. I've won. I had 2.5 hours tonight.
Yes. Last night we went to bed late and we're tired.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like a badge of honour. I win, I've had 2 hours sleep. Yoo-hoo. But yeah, so sleep is your biggest ally. So what do I suggest you do? Before you change anything, okay, you go to the gym, stop your snacks, get a sleep pattern,
get a good routine of going to bed at a decent
sleep will help you with your testosterone levels, which is declined rapidly as you get older. It's going to help you with feeling energetic. It's going to help you live longer. Recovery, and guys, let's be real. We want to be around longer so we can protect our kids.
Yeah.
Okay, so
if you start right at the beginning, get yourself a good night's sleep.
Get a night's sleep.
It's very basic.
It's basic, and we all need it.
So important.
We all need a good night's sleep.
And if you're in a situation where you've got young children, they might not be sleeping through the night. Yeah. How do you get through that? What's your advice for dads?
If what?
You've got young children and they're not necessarily sleeping through the night. They've got broken sleep. What's the answer to that?
Well, you tell me.
I'm asking you.
Oh, what is a smart ass answer? Like, this is what you should do, Dad.
Rhetoric question.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're tripping yourself.
No, I'm asking, what would
setting yourself up for a really clever answer.
No, what would your advice be? Because, like you said,
I'd take it in turns.
Yeah.
Take it in turns with the partner. If you're a single dad and you've got that, you're fucked.
Okay, but it comes down to, again, reaching out, I think, to support, because
respite, let's call it respite, or let's call it self-care, whatever you want to call it, you need it. And
it's necessary.
Even if you paid a babysitter
to
come, or someone that you know to come and look after the kids for half an hour where you want to have a nap or whatever, but I think resting and putting yourself first is really key.
But those things won't happen unless you're organised enough and have a schedule and a routine to fit it in somewhere.
There's a theme here, isn't there? That we need to be organised more as dads.
Absolutely.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
We need to be more organised, and we need to be more aware of what we're doing negatively to turn it into a positive, don't
Absolutely,
we? If we're not more aware of it, then how do we know we can change it?
Exactly.
And nothing changes unless you change.
Yeah. And like you say, you're not going to know how to implement positive change unless you're aware of what you're contributing negatively to the situation.
True. Okay, so there are our top 5 pressures we feel dads are going through. Number 1, providing pressure. Number 2, the provider pressure, sorry. Number 2, time juggling and acts. Number 3, setting an example. Number 4, maintaining healthy relationships. Number 5, personal health and longevity.
Dads have got their plate full, haven't they? They really have got their plate full.
I would say that sometimes we think we like the stress. We like to be stressed because it makes us more laser focused and stuff like that. But
do you think you thrive off pressure?
I think we do as dads thrive off pressure. Pressure. However, sometimes we've got to know our limits. Mm-hmm. And also, the biggest thing that I want you dads to take away, I can't remember what words that time. Well, the biggest thing I want you dads to take away is this. A lot of pressure you have is from your own doing. You, as dads, we put so much pressure on ourselves to be this heroic, controlling...
Everything to everyone. And we've got our shit together, which is great, but sometimes we don't. Yeah.
Okay? And you're better off sometimes admitting that you don't, rather than trying to blag it, because sometimes it will come back and hit you, kick you in the bum, and everything just goes wrong.
And just because you have one bad day, doesn't mean you're doing a bad job, or that you're a bad dad, or a bad father, or a bad husband, or a bad partner,
or bad dad. That's also a bad dad. So I really do feel that you need to really self-review yourself, like do a self-review of where you're at mentally, physically, emotionally, on like a weekly basis. And I think you need to get a schedule and plan and a Google Calendar to help you plan a lot of things. Even if you're married or not married, I think you need a lot of strategies to take control of.
I think having that sort of brain dump, because I think sometimes when you've got that many things going on in your head, it can feel overwhelming. And I think that's when you start to feel mentally under pressure, and you start to feel stressed. You do that a lot, don't you? Brain dump. Organise, plan, strategise, fit it in as and where you can, and it just takes that load off you doing it all up here. You brain dump it all into a calendar, a journal, whatever you need to do. Figure out a schedule, figure out a strategy. Okay, I'm going to get the kids looked after then, and me and the wife are going to do this. Or if you're a single dad, I'm going to go out and do this for myself on this day. I'm going to do the gym on this day. It just makes life easier.
So 3 tools. Let's wrap this up. 3 tools. Number 1, sleep. Number 1, sleep.
When and where you can.
Number 2, brain dump. Okay. And number 3, Google Calendar. Planning everything.
Sounds good.
Guys, I hope you've got value from this episode. And if you can follow us on our Instagram page, which is Tired Dad Traditions, @Tired Dad Traditions. Follow us on there because all the snippets of a podcast and interviews from other dads. We're also on TikTok, and that on TikTok is just Tired Dad, sorry. It's just Tired Dad on there. If you share this episode, podcast, YouTube with people that you know, other dads, please drop a comment on the YouTube channel. Please subscribe and press the subscribe button watching this, which is somewhere down here. We're asking a lot of people today, aren't we? I'm going to keep asking you guys because I really want to get this off the ground to help other dads. I read a statistic the other day, and I shared it with you. Every day, an average of 15 men kill themselves in the UK.
That's a really sad statistic.
Every day, which is really sad. And I think, just think of them, I don't know what percentage of them 15 men are dads, but it's a sad situation.
Dads have got to know they're not alone.
Definitely. So, guys, subscribe, share, like, leave a review. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, dads, to keep leveling up in your faith, family, and freedom. See you soon.